Bienvenidos a el PAI, el podcast para aprender inglés, episodio número 3. Lo que estoy haciendo el día de hoy es un episodio a un nivel de inglés un poco más alto. El primer episodio fue un nivel súper principiante, el episodio número 2 fue un nivel un poco más intermedio y el día de hoy quiero que sea un nivel un poco más avanzado, que sea un poco más, con un vocabulario un poco más extenso o complejo, por llamarlo de alguna manera. Entonces ya vamos a ir viendo qué tal se te dio a ti, sea el episodio 1, el 2 o este que estás viendo ahora, nivel principiante, intermedio y avanzado, que es este que estamos haciendo. El día de hoy vamos a hablar sobre Learning as an Adult, y el día de hoy el formato es igual que siempre, un poco de vocabulario y luego el bloque de texto. El día de hoy son 4 bloques de texto que vamos a ver y no va a haber tanta interacción en español porque estamos hablando de un nivel un poco más avanzado, ¿vale? Entonces, veamos cómo va este episodio que tenemos aquí el día de hoy, que perdí el ratón. Perfecto. A ver. Learning as an adult, why it's harder, slower and more powerful than we think. Entonces, tenemos the myth of the young brain. The vocabulary for today is neuroplasticity, es neuroplasticidad, cognitive decline, deterioro cognitivo, y misconception, una idea errónea. En phrases of the next block that we're gonna be listening to is to lose the ability to learn, perder la capacidad de aprender. A deep-rooted belief, una creencia profundamente arraigada. To challenge a narrative, cuestionar una narrativa. So we're gonna begin with this first block, is the myth of the young brain. For decades, one of the most persistent misconceptions about learning has been the idea that human brain gradually loses its ability to learn as we age. Hablando de old brain, I just had to zoom in the letters because they were too small for me. So let's continue. This deeply rooted belief has shaped educational systems, workplace expectations, and even personal identity. Many adults grow up assuming that learning is something reserved for childhood and adolescence, and that beyond a certain age, progress becomes not only slower, but almost impossible. The sun is melting my eyes right now. There it is. Okay. But natural light is best for recording videos. So anyway, recent research in neuroscience directly challenges this narrative. While it is true that certain cognitive processes, such as processing speed, may change over time, the brain does not simply shut down its capacity to adapt. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to recognize itself by forming new neural connection, continues throughout adulthood. So you can learn as being an adult. And remember this when you think someone from your family is too old to learn English or to practice English like you're doing right now. What changes is not the ability to learn, but the conditions under which learning takes place. Adults do not learn less, they learn differently. Amen. That's completely true. They bring prior knowledge, emotional experiences, habits, and expectations into every learning situation. These factors can either support or obstruct progress. The problem is not that the adult brain is weaker, but that it is more complex, more cautious, that's completely true, and more selective. Learning at this stage requires effort, intention, and often a willingness to confront deeply ingrained beliefs about the competence and failure. This is really nice block that we just read because it talks about a lot of adults, and a big population of my students is adults. So I really like this. It's really nurturing for me. The next block is why adults learning feels slower and more frustrating. Mira, we have in the keywords in this part cognitive load, carga cognitiva, emotional resistance, resistencia emocional, automaticity, automatización. And the key phrases we have for this part is to interfere with learning, interferir con el aprendizaje, fear of making mistakes, el miedo a cometer errores, y to rely on existing patterns, apoyarse en patrones existentes. So let's see this part that is called why adult learning feels slower and more frustrating. One of the most common complaints among adults learners is the sensation that learning feels slower, heavier, and more mentally exhausting than it did in the past. This perception is not imaginary. Adult learners experience higher cognitive load because they are constantly comparing new information with existing knowledge. So adults know so many things already that when they are learning, they are always comparing, so it feels slower for them. I'm gonna continue. Every new concept must find a place within an already crowded mental framework. So what this says is that adult brains are more crowded than young brain that is like they're completely plastic and they are so fast in learning. Anyways, I'm gonna continue. In addition to this cognitive burden, carga, emotional resistance plays a significant role. Adults are far more aware of mistakes, social judgment, and perceived failure. The fear of making mistakes often interferes with learning far more than a lack of intelligence or ability. Unlike children who experience freely, adults tend to rely on existing patterns and avoid situations that threaten their sense of competence. Paradoxically, paradójicamente, this discomfort is a sign of effective learning. When the brain is forced out of automaticity, when it can no longer rely on familiar shortcuts, it is required to build new neural pathways. This process is inefficient by design. It feels slow because the brain is working harder, not because it is failing. In this sense, frustration is not a symptom of inability, but evidence that real learning is taking place. This is a really nice part that we're reading right now. I really like it because it even happens to me, and I'm not that old, but I'm getting there, and it feels nice because sometimes when I'm learning a new thing right now, which doesn't happen a lot, it feels way harder than it used to be in the past. And I thought it used to be about motivation, and apparently it's not. It's that the brain requires to build new neural pathways, which is really interesting. I really like it. You know you're getting old when you feel identified with this type of texts. Jesus. Okay. Next block is lifelong learning and the modern world. The key words that we have is adaptability, la capacidad de adaptación, skill obsolescence, obsolencia de habilidades, continuous learning, aprendizaje continuo. And the phrases that we have in this part is to remain relevant, seguir siendo relevante, rapid technological change, un cambio tecnológico acelerado, y learning beyond formal education, aprendizaje más allá de educación formal. In today's world, lifelong learning is no longer a personal hobby or an intellectual luxury. It has become a structural necessity. Rapid technological change ensures that skills acquired in formal education, skills acquired in formal education lose relevance faster than ever before. Entire professions evolve, transform, or disappear within a single generation. Even more right now with AI. Placing adaptability at the center of economic and social survival, which I feel really identified right now because I'm technically old school, but right now, literally right now, I am adapting to a new whole economic and social environment, which is maybe social media and content creation. Anyways, I'm gonna continue. This shift, este cambio, has fundamentally altered the meaning of education, YouTube education, which is what you are doing right now, or Spotify education, or social media education, which is what I do. Learning is no longer confined to classrooms, degrees, or early life stages. Instead, en cambio, it extends across careers, personal interests, and daily routines. Adults are expected to update skills, retain, and learn new systems while maintaining professional and personal responsibilities. Oof, I feel that. What makes this transformation particularly challenging is that most educational models were not designed for adult learners. Adults must often learn independently without structured guidance while navigating time constraints, fatigue, and competing priorities. Yet, despite these obstacles, research consistently shows that continuous learning strengthens cognitive resilience, delays cognitive decline, and increases psychological well-being. Learning as an adult is not merely about staying employable. It is about remaining mentally flexible and, in a world that refuses to stand still. Si están viendo el video, genial. Y están viendo que me está quemando el sol. Si lo están escuchando, quiero que sepan que tengo una lámpara que me regaló mi adorada novia. Y me está tapando, esa lámpara es lo único que tapa el sol de mis ojos. Es como si tuviese unas gafas de sol, pero es solamente la lámpara que me está tapando los ojos. Gracias a mi preciosa novia. The next block is Evergreen Lesson of Adult Learning. Entonces, the keywords in this part is cognitive resilience, resiliencia cognitiva, long-term payoff, beneficio a largo plazo, intentional effort, esfuerzo intencional, and the key phrases in this part is to embrace discomfort, aceptar la incomodidad. Progress is not linear, el progreso no es lineal. Learning as a lifelong process. El aprendizaje como proceso permanente a través de la vida. Lifelong. So, the evergreen lesson of adult learning. Evergreen means that it stays the same for the whole life, which is this type of video. The most important lesson of adult learning is not scientific but physiological. Learning as an adult requires embracing discomfort, accepting slower progress, and redefining success. Progress is not linear, and improvement often appears invisible before it becomes undeniable. This reality discourages many learners long before minimal changes occurs, and that it's something similar to what happens when you go to the gym. You go 1 week and absolutely no difference in your body happens. You go 2 weeks and absolutely nothing. But if you continue doing it, if you keep yourself accountable and you keep yourself not motivated but disciplined, you will eventually 100% are going to see results. Maybe in your health, well-being, or maybe what happens after that only by consequence, which is your physical change. Anyways, I'm gonna continue. Yet, this process carries a long-term payoff that extends beyond the skill itself. Learning strengthens cognitive resilience, reinforces identity beyond age or profession, and restores a sense of agency in a world that often feels overwhelming. Una de las palabras favoritas de una de mis estudiantes. Overwhelmed. She has like a lot of kids. Not a lot, only 2, but sometimes she feels overwhelmed, and it's completely understandable. The effort invested today may not produce immediate results, but it accumulates quietly, reshaping how the brain responds to challenges over time. Ultimately, learning as an adult is an act of intention. It is a decision to remain engaged, adaptable, and open to change, which is, I feel very identified with this because I'm changing absolutely everything in my life, or let's say in my work, not in my life, thank God. I'm really happy in my personal life, but in my work, everything changed 100%. Anyways, while the brain may no longer learn effortlessly, sin esfuerzo, it learns more deeply. This is why adult learning, despite being harder, is also more powerful. It is not about acquiring information quickly, but about transforming how we think, respond, and grow across a lifetime. It's really, really nice reading we had today about learning as an adult. It's really interesting for me, in my personal opinion, because right now, or in January, a new student is going to start having classes with me. She's 60 years old, and it's one of the first things she said to me is that, well, I'm getting older and it's more difficult for me to learn. It's not that it's difficult, which is what we just learned. It's that it's deeper. It's more complex. Yes, maybe it takes more time, but it's not that it has to be more difficult. It could be challenging because we are comparing it to how easy we learned, for example, Spanish. But learning a new language as an adult is completely possible. I've done it before. I've taught English to adults before, and it's completely possible. It's a lot about discipline and being open. 100% being open to learn. Jesus, This was the PAI, episode number 3. Thank you very much. And the bell rang, so I'm leaving. Subscribe, comment, everything. Let's go.